That's awesome. I'm so glad we went. Didn't go to work. We'd be sitting there going, God, we should have gone fishing.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Salty Yak Podcast. I'm your host, Cary, and we have a special tournament edition for you today. So we're sitting in Kevin's truck from Kevin's Outside, and we're sitting here getting ready to launch. There's a little bit of rain, but we want to go ahead and knock this podcast out. Well, I had everybody that was from the Salty Yak Pack that was at the tournament. So I'm here, Kevin's here. Say hi, Kevin. You got it. It's a podcast, Kevin, and you have to talk. Okay, you have to talk.
Good morning. Good morning.
We have Chris here with us.
Howdy.
The winner, or not winner, third place. You know.
I'll take it.
So third place. We'll talk about that. And then we have an extra. We got our buddy Robert Acala with us again.
Who really was the big winner because I spent the day with my wife. So.
Oh,
anyway.
Dude, you know she doesn't listen to this podcast.
Well, I know, but who knows? She may get it.
That was karma.
I told you.
Yep,
One of you are going to have to hold it.
I got it.
So we're just going to give y'all a rundown on, this was myself, Kevin, and Chris. This was our first kayak tournament ever, right?
Yes. First tournament of any kind for me.
Yeah, I'd fished one, but it was with a guide. Yeah. We paid, another guy paid a guide, and I got to go fishing with him, and it was a charity tournament. That's the only other tournament experience I had, other than the online tournament that I did one time. Kevin?
I had the one charity tournament last November. It was actually a boat tournament, but I fished it in my kayak.
Yeah?
Nice.
How'd you do in that one?
I got fourth in the flounder.
In the flounder?
Nice.
Okay. So we were fishing the Saltwater Survival Series. This was their second tournament in the series. We missed the redfish tournament. So this was the trout tournament where you could weigh in 4 speckled trout, 1 over 25 inches. And if one of them was alive, you got a half-pound bonus, which we kind of played into our game plan because myself and Kevin, we both made live wells.
Yes.
Yeah, we built some live wells out of our some old coolers that we had. So which played, helped at least one of us out.
Fortunately for me, y'all did that, and I do appreciate it greatly.
So let's talk about, let's kind of start from the beginning. We had to pick a place to go, right?
For sure.
Yes,
so the place that we picked, how did we kind of get down to that?
It was a place that we were all familiar with. It was actually a place you got your first Texas Slam.
Yep.
It's a place that I got my first Texas Slam also.
So a place that we knew.
Yeah, we knew it well.
Chris had never fished there before, right?
Well, except for the day before where I pretty much
you got to
found out where they weren't.
Scouted.
And that's very important, though. When you find
absolutely.
Out, seriously, that's very important to find out where they are not.
Changed my whole game plan for sure. Absolutely.
So you pre-fished it the day before.
Yes, sir.
But one of the reasons that we picked this area, like Kevin said, it was a place that we know. We've been there before. And 2, it has a variety of stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not far off the intercoastal. It's got marsh on one side. It's got some deep channels. It's got some bays.
Yes, sir.
It's got
some small lakes.
Yeah. Oyster. It
Grass
had
flat.
Yeah, it had just a little bit of everything. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. So it had a little bit of everything. That's another reason that we picked it. Of course, then Chris goes and pre-fishes it, and he's texting me and Kevin. He's like, I ain't catching nothing. Which is, you would like to at least think when you pre-fish that maybe you would catch some fish.
Yes,
you would find some fish.
You'd hope. Although I did hear a lot of times you pre-fish, catch a bunch, count on the next day not doing well. So I kept that in my head going, well, this is all good karma. I'm just building my good karma.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. I just wanted to learn the area. I'd never been there, so...
I kept wondering if he was in the right spot. When he kept texting us, he said, I'm not catching nothing. I was like, are you in the right spot?
Yeah, I know. Y'all talk so highly of it. And
Well, it has produced, I mean, one of the videos that me and Kevin did, we slayed trout there. Now, they weren't all big ones, but it was, we probably the best day of trout fishing I've had in Texas.
That's awesome.
Was there.
I didn't get the bigger ones until later in the day.
Yeah, I'd already moved on. I'd already headed to the house. But so it was. We thought it was a good area. So and we'll talk about our personal plans here. I had a spot up in the marsh that I knew I had caught some good trout at this bend in the marsh where it got deep.
So over the intercoastal.
Over the intercoastal.
Okay.
Yeah, where
I know what you're talking-
you've been there before. So that was my plan, was to go start way up in the marsh. What was your plan, Kevin?
My plan was to start on this side, on the side we launched at, in this big lake where I'd had some good topwater action in the past.
And Chris?
And for me, if wind allowed, I wanted to fish wind-blown shorelines. Was definitely my goal, and see if I could find any structure or anything of that nature, because just figuring the wind's going to blow the bait up. Tide was higher than normal.
Yes.
So the grass was flooded, so I was hoping the bait would get blown into the grass. So if I saw any bait, that was my key.
Okay. So, the rules allowed you to launch at 5 a.m. and first cast was at 6 a.m.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of what we did, because I knew I had a little bit of a push. And by the time I got to my spot, it was like 10 minutes after 6. But it was still dark, right? I'm still having to fish with a headlamp. And
It was really dark that day.
It sure was.
I fished, and fished, and finally caught the flounder after 8 o'clock, probably.
Yeah, probably.
That's about. I think that's when you text us and let us know you're on the board.
So finally, but were you on the board before me?
I was not. I'd caught a lot of small. I started off with a topwater. I was 15 minutes prior to 6, and I was just, chomping at the bit. So I actually waited till 6:02 just to be safe.
Yeah, you had a shorter paddle than we did.
Yes, I did. And but it's a good paddle.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I worked topwater, caught a bunch of small ones, and it wasn't until 45 minutes after you were on the board, man, they had turned on for me, and I had my slam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it went off, and it was on the race to the race from then on.
So I catch the flounder, some more kayakers show up, and my plan was to fish. I wasn't going way deep into the marsh. I was going to fish back towards the intercoastal if I wasn't catching anything, and I wasn't catching anything, so I started fishing my way back, and lo and behold, who I run into? Kevin. Why? Because Kevin wasn't.
My spot was not producing anything, not even a bite.
Yeah. So I ran into you there at the kind of the beginning of the marsh.
Yeah.
And I called you on the phone, and we had a little chit chat, and you're like, "Yeah, it's going on." And what did you tell me?
Well, I said where I told you we were at. That's where I told you I was going to go. That's where they were. Yeah. I'm not sure what I told you. What did I tell you?
Well, you made it pretty apparent that you were catching them on the wind-blown shoreline.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, well, maybe that's the key. And it turns out that was the key.
Yeah.
That whole wind-blown shoreline or wind-blown pocket, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute.
Yes, sir.
Was the key. So I fished along. I guess you kept going towards where he was.
Yeah, I did.
With a popping cork, Kevin?
I didn't really use a popping cork much that day.
Okay.
I tried it.
Because that's kind of like a go-to, right? I mean,
yeah, but I tried the popping cork when I wasn't getting. I went from a topwater to a paddle tail. I wasn't getting any bites, and of course I'm gonna try the popping cork. It's kind of my go-to thing, and nothing at all.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up there, Robert. Is what were we fishing with?
Yeah.
So I caught the trout, or not the trout. I caught the flounder.
Paddle tail.
Morning Glory.
Morning Glory.
Morning Glory Slayer.
Shocker.
Shocker. Big shocker. Magic bait. Yeah. Shocker.
The secret's out.
So that's what I was fishing with.
Yeah.
And caught that one. And then when I ran into Kevin, I was still fishing it. And then we moved across. Well, I did throw a Miradyne, thinking that I might get lucky in that hole.
I tried Miradyne also.
Thinking that it's been a really good trout lure. I think
it's a solid trout lure.
At one point, I changed to a hoagie. I had a pink with a little bit of white belly hoagie with a white tail.
Yeah.
And I threw it for a little while, and then I went back to the Slayer. So I didn't try any topwater. What were you throwing, Chris?
Well,
I didn't hear you. I didn't
caught
hear.
all my. I figured I'd wait. I figured I'd let the bum. What I threw the top water, bone color one knocker. Caught a bunch of small ones, even a small red against the grass. Then I always have on my 3/16. This is I'm not sponsored. 3/16 Naughty Hooker jig head, screw lock jig head with a strawberry wine, Howell strawberry wine DSL, soft plastic, and that's what I caught. Every one of the fish that I weighed in and brought in were caught on that. I did try a corky as well, looking for bigger trout. Nothing on that. So everything was fine on that strawberry wine.
Which is interesting because you think about the water clarity. You know, normally that water where we was at is so muddy that you can't see 2 inches into it. I noticed that day you could see about a foot down.
The water was
foot and a half.
Yep.
Yeah,
it looked pretty good for over there.
What was your plan for the day? What was your plan in your head?
So my plan was, it was all about the wind. If the wind was, the day before I went out to the point to get to the bay, and there were 2 foot rollers, and I was just not comfortable sitting in my kayak in 2 foot rollers. Right. So if the wind allowed, I told Cary this, I knew I was going to fish flooded shoreline, and I got to give props to Caleb McCumber, which I don't even think he listens to this, but Captain Caleb McCumber, in talking to him, he's the one that I learned that from, is to try that if the water's high and it's flooding grass. So kudos to him. But otherwise,
what was it that you learned from him?
To fish a wind-blown shoreline. If you got flooded grass and the wind's blowing into it, the bait's going to be there, because that wind's going to drive the wind's going to drive the bait up in there.
You remember us fishing Salt Lake a couple months ago?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was wind-blown shoreline, and I caught like a 28-inch red right there.
Nice.
So it's a thing. It's a serious thing. The wind. This is the way I've heard it: is the wind blows the plankton and the small stuff up in there, and then the bait fish follow that, and then the big fish follow that. That's the way I've heard it broken down.
That's how it works.
So yeah, wind-blown shoreline, and we'll talk a little bit more about the spot that we were fishing. But was that your plan?
About it.
Well, we won't talk about the spot.
Was there
in
anything
Texas,
else to your plan? I mean,
yeah. If that didn't work out, then I was just going to kind of modify what I did the day before. Problem I had the day before, it's just heavy current, so I was going to find a way to get out of that current, and try to find some structure, maybe some drains or something that wasn't heavy current.
And you're paddling. So that's going to be that's. Now you'd be
but
pedaling.
he's no longer paddling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now
he used his winnings to go buy him a new kayak.
I'm very blessed. Got my Hoodoo Tempest 120, and it's a slick little rig. I was able to fish it yesterday and did all right. So yes, that afforded me the ability to get a new rig.
What was your plan?
No, your plan first.
My plan first?
Your plan first.
I was going to do topwater from 6 to 7. Then I was going to do a Miradine from 7 to 8. Then I was going to go paddle. Of course, those I was going to stretch those if I was doing good on it. Go with what I know. Obviously, that all got blown to hell in a handbasket, and just started throwing everything in the tackle box.
Kitchen sink just dumped it
I
out
never
there.
figured anything out. I could have won the gaff top division, but other than that,
That was a heck of a gaff top.
That was a hell of a gaff top.
And an even better YouTube video.
and what did I catch him on?
I want to say strawberry wine.
Strawberry
I'll eat
wine.
strawberry wine.
I watched that video. I was waiting for a big bull red to come in on that. Not exactly.
I was screaming. I was talking smack to Cary.
That was
I didn't know
awesome.
he knew I was talking smack. I was like,
got it.
I got a big one. I got a stud here. I thought I had Cary beat in the redfish division.
I'm still editing that video,
Oh,
so
God.
it'll be out the next day or two, because there was already a question if there will be a YouTube video. So if you're listening to the podcast, you're getting all of the details of our first tournament experience.
I saw it.
If you just want to go watch the video, you can go watch the video and see the highlights of it. But if you're listening to the podcast, you're getting all the details to it. So you're getting the inside scoop here. So my plan was to go across to the marsh, fish that corner where I had caught good trout before, and then hopefully pick up a flounder, maybe a red, and work my way back to the intercoastal If I wasn't catching anything in the marsh, I was going back to the intercoastal.
How deep into the marsh did you go? Just at the mouth?
No,
Or did you
probably,
go in a little bit? You know what I
probably
mean?
a mile.
'Cause it goes-
Probably
okay,
a mile in
all right.
there.
Oh wow.
Because there's a corner in there where it drops off. It's like a 9-foot hole.
Okay.
And I have caught some 19-inch trout back in there.
Nice.
Okay.
And so, you remember that day?
Yeah.
That we went up there
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
what's her name?
I don't remember. I haven't seen her since then.
Oh.
Lorraine?
No, you're talking about.
Anyway,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
she went with us, and she actually started catching trout there.
Yeah.
And so me and Kevin came over and joined in.
Yeah, sure did.
But so that was my plan, and then kind of work my way back. And then, if nothing else, that's where we were catching those trout that day in the rain,
Yeah.
because that's always been a good spot. Work that spot,
A lot of water movement.
and then kind of just work my way back until either time ran out or I'd caught enough. I've caught what I was looking for. So we get back across, and now it's after 10. I've got a flounder. Kevin's got
Nothing.
nothing. And then and so I'm working some of that oyster in that one little area, and then the wind blowing shoreline. There's a point that sticks out, and I could see the wind blowing up in it. And so by then the water clarity we talked about it being a little bit clearer. I went to chicken. On Slayer they call it chicken off the chain.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Dark, light bottom, chartreuse tail. Put it on a weedless hook because I was throwing around that oyster, and thought I had got hung up on the oyster, but I didn't. And
That's awesome.
He was a pretty good fight. I get him in there, and I'm like thinking to myself that this is probably over 28 inches. But when I laid him on the board and it said 27 and a half, I had to look like 3 times just to make sure. 'Cause at that point, I'm like, that's
Winner.
That's a pretty good red.
Yeah.
So got him on the stringer, and then I need 1 trout. So the hunt for the trout began, and my plan was at that point was to go to the old intercoastal there where it dropped off and just work that deeper water. But then I talked to Chris again, and Chris is...
So Chris shared the wealth.
He did.
I mean, that was pretty good.
that was our
He
plan.
could have just, no, nothing here.
He was a team player.
That's team player.
In this tournament, you can't fish within 100 yards of another kayak angler that's in the
Right.
tournament.
Unless
you're
invited.
invited. And he invited us.
Oh, look at that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Open the door and everything.
I got him. I
that was
got
kind
him
of
on
our plan.
recording.
That's
That
good.
was
That was our. We were.
We had to work together.
We went to 3 different areas on purpose because we knew something was going to produce. And the plan was if you got someplace and it started producing, you called the other 2 guys
Yes.
and said, "Come over here because I'm catching fish."
Yes, that was the plan.
That's
we were
cool.
going to help. We were going to work as a team, and we were going to do what we needed to do. I mean, it's an individual tournament, but
Do you think most groups work like that?
I think there is
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
sharing of information,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly, you talk about, you listen to, Caleb and them talk about on the Bite Me podcast,
Yeah.
that when they go fishing, they have networks of people because that feed them information on where to go. So this is no different than that. You're not catching my fish for me. In fact, when we were fishing, we weren't fishing. We were never like side by
Right,
side.
yeah.
I mean, we were in the same. I could see Kevin 200 yards over there, and I could see Chris 100 yards over there.
I could see Cary and Chris catching fish.
Yeah.
Y'all think I'm joking. Think I'm joking. I'm looking over there, and every time I look over at Cary, he's going, whoa! Going up. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell?
Kevin, no gaff tops over here.
Well, see, the gaff top didn't come in till the end.
We were headed back to the
Oh,
water.
were
you
headed
got to
back.
be feeling really good about
Oh
that.
yeah. So we get over there, and you're on fish, and I don't know. By the time we showed up, did you have 3 trout on the stringer then?
No, I had 2.
Okay.
I had 2 trout on the stringer at that point. Actually, when the second time we talked, I thought I was in. Man, I found a school. We're good. Come on over. Let's all hammer him. And then literally after I got off the phone, I shouldn't have said anything because they shut down.
That happens.
And but yeah, I mean it's how it goes. And
How many
so,
slams did you have, Chris?
3.
Okay, so you know what? Most guys fish for years before they ever get their first Texas slam. Chris had 3 slams in one day.
So that's my first. I've done 2 in one day on a boat, but never
in a kayak.
Never in a boat or kayak or anything having 3.
And kayak fishing is different. Than
Yeah, absolutely. I've had 1 slam on a kayak, and then before.
So let's just take a pause here for a second.
Come on.
Because we got a lot of listeners that are not necessarily from Texas.
For sure.
So a Texas slam, a legal redfish, which is in the slot between 20 and 28 inches. A legal flounder, which is bigger than 15 inches or bigger. And a legal speckled trout, which is in the slot 20,
15 to
25, but in Texas Parks and Wildlife regulations,
Couldn't be bigger than 25.
Yeah, it could be. You could have one.
You can keep one bigger.
Because that's the state law.
Right.
So a legal redfish, trout, or flounder makes your slam. Chris caught 3 of them.
Nice.
3 of them in the same day. So he was on the trout, he was on the flounder, and he was on the redfish.
He went to the right spot with the right lure and the right retrieve.
Got lucky.
So what we're
there's more than
Well, you know what?
But
here's the other thing though, too.
You gotta have some skill.
Why did you not give up on the spot where you were? Did you get? You stayed in the same area though for the most part.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because
You know what I mean? At no time you didn't think about going where Cary was or Kevin or.
No, not at all. Because I had caught fish prior to this.
Okay.
And I already had a keeper red. Already had. All I really needed was trout. I already had everything else for a slam and everything. So I just said it was working, so I was just working this pattern from one side to the other. Is what I was doing.
Cool.
So let's talk about the area that we were fishing, because we talked about the windblown shoreline.
Yes.
So when we get over there and we look at this area, it's basically a big cove, and it literally, the wind is for the last 3 days has been blowing from the same direction, blowing into this cove.
Yeah.
So the very back of the cove against the grass line, or a little bit off of that where there were some oyster or some other little cover, is where we were finding the fish.
Yes, sir.
And they were, it wasn't one after the other, obviously,
No.
but they were there, and they were staying there. So I get over there. Kevin was a long way ahead of me, because I stopped, caught that fish. But when I get towards where Chris is, I just see Kevin coming that way. I'm like, what the heck? You mistaken some other kayakers for Chris?
Yes, I did. They were out in the middle of the bay, and it is swells and white capping, and I see this guy out there on a paddle kayak, and I'm thinking, that's Chris. I'm thinking, Chris is crazy.
But he's on the fish, so.
But there's fish.
Luckily, Chris sent a pin to his location. I'm like, that's not Chris. So I turned around and went back and found him.
The water was so high, that little spigot of land between the old intercoastal and that cove that we were fishing, I just drug my PA across it. It was a little.
Before yesterday, I went across it and didn't even have to raise my pedal drive.
Well, I seen your video.
Yeah.
It was like way high.
Way high day before yesterday.
But so I get over there in that cove and start fishing it, and it wasn't right away, but they're pretty quick. Fish on, and I'm like, all right, come on trout, 23-inch redfish. Damn it, throw them back, keep fishing, get over there by you. And when did you end up catching the third one?
The third one, when I worked my way back towards the launch. Worked my way back to the launch, and kind of where I started out, and on that shoreline. Just went back there where I started, and hit another keeper.
I saw you catch that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you ended up with
3 trout,
2 19s and a 17.
No, I ended up with a 19, a 17, and a 16 and a half.
Oh, okay. I was giving you more credit for.
Yep. No,
maybe they've grown. They've grown in my mind.
They grew between there and
those 19.
In 5 years, it'd be like, he caught Moby Dick.
I don't know how you brought it in.
So here we have Chris. Has 3 nice trout, and he just needs one more. I'm looking for 1 trout, and I'm like, I need a 15-inch trout. And what do I catch? 23-inch. Another. Kevin's over there looking at me, and I'm reeling in another 23-inch red. Like, dadgummit, let him go. Look for another one. And that's about the time, a little after that's when you caught the big old gaff top.
You know what I was hoping to catch? by that point, I was hoping I'd
tag
catch.
redfish?
No, especially not now. But I was hoping I'd catch a 15, right at like a 15 1/4 inch trout, so I could get that dead last
The
place.
dead last place?
Oh, there you
They had
go.
a really cool trophy for that.
So
Yeah.
at the tournament, so this is a trout tournament, so they're paying the first 5 places, 1st through 5th is cash, and then they have some side pots. One of them is biggest redfish by weight, biggest flounder by weight, and then biggest Texas slam by weight, and then
No spots.
the most spots on a redfish. So those were the side pots. But they also give a trophy for dead ass last.
Yep.
Okay, so come
But
on.
you had to weigh a fish. You had to,
Yeah.
You had to weigh a trout.
you had to, yeah. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to
weigh
weigh
trout.
trout. It was trout.
Anyway, so you're still hunting,
Yes, sir. Trying to get that forward.
and so our plan was we talked about we needed to be on the road at 2:30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because weigh-in ended at 5, and it was an hour and 20 minutes from where we were coming from. So we needed gave us a little wiggle room too. So we need to be heading back to the launch at 1:30. So it was getting close to 1:30. Me and Kevin are pedaling our way kind of back to the launch. Chris decides he's gonna go over and check this one little spot out, and then you pulled your kayak across that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I sprinted as fast as I could, pulling it, and almost threw up from exertion. But I made it.
So we're fishing back, and there's a little wind. We're talking about the wind-blown cove, but the wind-blown point is often produced for
Sure.
me too. And so I get up there, and the water's still fairly clear. So I'm still throwing that chicken on a chain, and lo and behold, 19-inch trout.
Heck yeah.
The only keeper trout I caught the whole day.
Winning trout.
And so that gave me the and with that 19-inch trout, I felt really good about the slam.
Yeah.
So me and Kevin head back to the launch to get the
Why-
live well fired up. And
Question for you: why did you feel so good about your slam? I don't think you talked about how big your red was yet.
he mentioned it.
we're
Oh, I
gonna-
didn't hear it.
We're going to
Okay,
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
we're going to talk about what you want to talk about in a minute.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying
So-
you had a huge. I didn't realize that you said you had that.
So
you had an awesome redfish.
so
It was huge.
but you're looking for the one trout. You need one more trout. So you're going to spend a little extra time
Yes, sir.
looking for that one more trout.
One more trout.
So me and Kevin head back to the launch, start getting things loaded up, get the live well fired up, because you've got some trout that need to go in the live well.
Thank you again, Cary, for that.
And whoever, me or you or Kevin, it didn't matter. It was a team effort.
Yep.
So we get over to load it up, and you show up with 3 trout.
3 trout.
So you weren't able to pull the other one.
Nope.
So we go and go to the weigh-in. First time we've ever been to a weigh-in, but it was kind of like a weigh-in that I've been to in the past.
But the most important thing is he showed up with 3 trout, and they were alive. Or at least
The
one.
one was alive.
All
Yeah,
you
one
needed was one.
Now,
right?
was the other 2 not alive?
They
when
were
you got,
not alive.
when you got back to the
no,
grant? Okay.
they were one. They were both had been gill hooked.
So would you have not placed at all?
I think I still would have placed,
You
but
still
I
would have
don't, I
placed.
don't know that I would have gotten 3rd place.
Yeah, because obviously you brought 1 live trout in.
So you
You
got a
got a
half
half
pound
pound,
for that, right?
got a half pound bonus.
Yep.
So, and I think the guy who beat you,
Had 4 trout.
but they were dead.
They were dead.
Oh.
They had them all on the ice.
You were the only one that brought in a lot.
I think it might have been. There might have been one other, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
To me, then that was not that big a deal. I mean, we made it didn't take very long to make it,
Yeah.
and bought a little bit of that G juice to put in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was actually in better shape when we got back. When we got to the
He
weigh-in than it
was pretty spunky.
because he was not doing well when I put him in that thing.
Well, another thing, on the live weigh-in like that, we put him in that bag with some water, but there was no oxygen in that water.
Right.
I mean, he depleted that oxygen.
Sure.
I mean, they should have put him like on the scale, like very first
yeah, I was a
thing.
little bummed that they made me weigh everything but him.
Yeah, I said, can we do the live? I'd ask in the future. I
Well,
would
they
say, can we
said
do the
they
live
asked
one
me
first?
in the future for
Another
sure.
thing is, I wonder if you could take a baby bubbler and hang it on the side of that bag and put.
Sure, you
Sure,
Oh,
If that
sure,
would
why
help.
not?
Well, see,
Just in case you have to stand in line.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Or because that's what's in that's one of the things that's in my live well is a bubbler.
Right.
You can just pull it out and put it in the back.
There you go. Good idea.
It's a great idea.
For next for November.
So get to the weigh-in. We go do the weigh-in, and we were standing. I think it was before, somewhere along that line that you were talking about. You thought you had a shot at the slam, and I had to shoot you down.
Yes, I had no idea that you had this big of a redfish. It was pretty funny, actually.
Oh, you didn't know
I
at
enjoyed
that
that.
time?
No,
He had
Chris is
27 and everything?
like, yeah, I think I might be in the slam too. And I'm like, no. He's like, what do you mean no? I'm like, no. He's like, what? And I'm like, I got a 27.5-inch red. He's like,
Oh, well, cool.
I didn't know that, but cool.
I was like, all right.
It's like you just canceled Christmas.
If we win, well, no, I mean, I was just happy if we win. I just wanted one of us
Somebody to win.
Get in there,
It took him a second,
cool.
but he was like, oh, but that's cool. You know?
Yeah, like, dude.
So they do the weigh-in. We hang around for results, and I was thinking that I had a pretty good shot at the biggest red too.
I did too.
But I did not.
Nope.
There was mine was 7 pounds, 0.04 ounces, and the one who beat me was 7 pounds, 0.2 ounces. So I was really, really close. But
Same guy that won that last time.
The guy that won the
Joe,
actual.
he won it last
He
time.
won the redfish tournament.
I'll
First
have to beat you next time.
So there was, you said
Be a
there was
new
like
man.
70 of you?
70
About
of
how
us.
many came back? When you talking about being skunked, Kevin, could you tell from that?
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Was there
man.
25 guys? Was there
Maybe.
40 guys? What?
No.
You know what I mean?
Maybe 15, 20.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
it was.
thinking-
Yeah,
Tough day.
maybe 20 people showed up at the weigh-in, and some of those that showed up didn't weigh anything.
Well, and then there's those that probably thought I don't have a chance, and I might have got something, but you know what I mean?
So they did the results, and I ended up getting the Texas Slam, which was really cool.
Yeah,
because
very cool.
the whole point for me personally doing it was just get the Salty Yak name out there,
Right.
to meet some new people and get the name out there. We did that in spades.
Oh, yeah.
We did that in spades.
No doubt.
Then, they start doing the trout stuff, and they start at fifth place, so many pounds. And you see Chris pulling his paper out, and he's like,
Hey.
I got more than that. And
Well, I
then
didn't realize till after fourth.
well, then they do
I didn't even
fourth.
hear fifth, and I heard fourth. I'm like, did they call it? Then I heard. I'm like,
He goes, I got more than that.
I was like,
Yeah, we
no.
were both looking at your paper going, this is
No,
looking good.
I was still in disbelief.
The home team's looking good.
And then all of a sudden, Chris Collin, third place. Like, holy crap.
Okay, now that we have everybody on here, it's Colin like
Colin Powell. Yeah.
Colin Powell. That's okay. My whole life.
Colin, like the thing in your gut.
Well, spelled differently, but that's fine. If it helps you, go for it. I had nickname Guts, Cancer, Krusty. It's all good.
Colin, we got you,
There
Chris.
you go.
And so, man, money. You help you go buy a new kayak.
Yeah.
A new rod.
Which I
kind of
brought
rod was
today.
Nice.
H&H.
Nice.
The P844. I looked it up. Yeah, it looks. I'll be throwing it today. I'm gonna check it out.
Bunch of, a plaque. Bunch of
Yeah.
swag to go along
Cool
with it.
plaques.
Whole
Those
box
plaques
of
were
lures.
cool. Yeah, a whole box of the egret lures. So ton of voodoo shrimp, which I like. Some mambo mullet, which I've got, and magic bait color.
Oh, there you go.
I was going to show that to you. And yeah, I mean, that was an awesome experience.
day,
I was
yeah.
like you. I just went there to go meet some people.
Yep.
Because I've only been kayaking since May. I've been fishing, not my first time to fish, but fishing a kayak is so different.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to meet people in the game and hang out and just be part of the what was going on. And man, it was pretty awesome.
So, shout out to the Saltwater Survival
Oh,
Series,
yeah.
guys.
Oh, yeah.
That is an awesome tournament. If you everybody that showed up there, even if you were in the tournament, you left with something. They gave everybody.
They made sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, they had raffles. We won I think all three of us won something in the raffle.
Yep.
And then they had stuff left over that they were giving to anybody that didn't win in the raffle. So everybody that showed up there got something.
That's cool.
I
Yep.
got the coolest sticker ever.
Oh, you did.
I got it too.
Oh, you got one of those too?
The suck it.
Suck it?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's got a crawfish on it, but I put it on my kayak.
Yep, it's
I
awesome.
don't know where I'm going to put it. I don't know if I'm going to put it on the cooler or on the kayak.
So I want to say shout out to Tony Neal, Daniel Hayes. They're the founders of this, or Yep.
It's
their deal, and Nicholas Gibson.
Yep.
Who it was actually his birthday that day.
It
He worked
was.
his butt off and ended up with some cake in the face. But those three great guys and just put on one heck of a tournament.
And you ran into Daniel here at this boat ramp, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, one morning we were going fishing.
Yeah, he gave me a whole. He never even met me before, and he just come up to me. He said, "Hey man, I see you got some fish grips. I got a fish grip sticker." He went back to his truck 3 or 4 times. I got more stickers. He gave me a whole stack of stickers. I never even met the guy before, but he did tell me about the Saltwater Survival Series.
Yeah, I remember because you gave me a card that he gave you
Yeah.
for it, and certainly, I mean, this is our first kayak tournament. I like it. And the next one's November 14th.
Yes,
is
sir.
a flounder tournament.
I'm already registered.
Yeah, I'm going to be registered.
I'll be registered.
Two flounder. Then there'll be the side pots as before. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, sir.
I like this tournament, and this probably be the one tournament series that I will fish next year too. If I don't fish any other tournaments, I will fish this series. I'll fish all 3 of them next year.
Yes,
that would
sir.
be, I kind of feel bad if we missed out on that one.
Yeah, I didn't
the first
either.
one, but
We just didn't know.
I had been using the excuse of it was my weekend to work.
I don't know. There's a lot of other anglers who are probably happy that you did miss out on the first one.
I'll tell you what,
just
maybe
saying.
so, because the Salty Yak showed up on that one.
Yep.
When
A lot of people are asking.
When we left, they knew who the Salty Yak was, and there was a Salty Yak podcast, and there was a Salty Yak YouTube,
There you go.
but there was just a bunch of cool, and we had Chris Lopez.
Oh, how cool is that?
Our yak, another one of our Yak Pack guys. He
That's
showed
so
up
cool.
and fished. He didn't even. I don't think Chris had anything to weigh in. He just came over there.
He did, but he knew he had a redfish, but he knew he wasn't big enough.
Wasn't
to
big
weigh
enough,
in.
so he didn't.
He didn't bring it up to weigh in.
So, but so I'm from the vibe that I'm getting right now from the Salty Yak Pack. Is there's going to be a few more of
It's
us.
on.
There's going to be a few more of us at this flounder tournament. So
We're gonna need some more shirts.
We're going to need
Come
some.
on.
Sweet, did you bring me a shirt? Not yet.
Awkward silence.
All right.
We'll talk about it offline. What else I got about the tournament, guys? The rain's quit. So
Another shout out to the DSKA people
Oh,
who
yeah.
cooked those dang tacos.
Oh,
Were so
man.
good. The beef and I like the pastor. I needed about 10 paper towels, but my gosh, those were incredible. And then huge plate. They said, 6 tortillas or 3 flour, and I'm thinking that's going to be 3 tacos. No, it was 6 little tacos for like $10
Yep.
bucks plus a drink. Dude, that was as good a pastor as I've ever had.
So the morning before, or the evening before the tournament, I ate a very light dinner. I didn't eat any breakfast because I didn't want to have to
Same.
have a call of nature
Yes.
during the tournament. So I had one little Cliff Bar while we were fishing. So by the time we got there
Oh,
to eat, I
man.
was freaking starving.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those things were delicious.
Yes, they were.
So, and I think the boys are out of San Antonio. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but they did it right. And it was
They did a
Man, it was awesome.
a knockout job. So we already mentioned the next one's November 14th, Saturday. The weigh-ins at the San Leon Sunset Lounge in
Yep.
San Leon.
Pretty cool
San
place.
Leon.
Parking can be a little bit of an issue, but there's where the front side we pulled on. If we would have went to the back side, there was a lot more parking on the back side.
Oh, okay.
So if you're listening to this and you end up coming to it, just think about on the back side, there's more parking than there is on the front side. So
Cool.
what else about the tournament, guys?
Man, I just highly recommend people getting in it. Even just, I enjoyed just meeting. I met so many people there, people that I follow on Facebook. Mariel Zaleski, finally met Daniel, really talked to him for a little bit. And just the people I met there in the kayak community was really cool for me because, like I said, I'm still pretty new at it. And so I had as much fun. Not as much fun as catching all of those fish, but it was a great time.
Don't rub it in on Kevin.
Well, I got a little.
So
I gotta say something about Kevin. I meant to say this a while ago. We were fishing the windblown shoreline.
yes,
He was fishing the leeward side of a shoreline.
he was,
Yeah.
And so,
and he caught a gaff top.
and he caught a gaff top. So just putting that out there. Something
I
to
will
think
say
about.
I did have a few bites once I got over there.
Well, the mosquitoes were kind of bad.
Yeah, they were. And those gaff tops, sometimes they don't bite all the way.
Sometimes they just suck the lure right off your hook.
Yeah, they just suck it.
So we talk a lot of smack.
A little bit.
Even on text, when we're texting each other, we talk a lot of smack.
It's all out of love.
Matter of fact, I think Kevin might have talked a little smack about where I fished the day before.
Yeah, he might have.
I enjoyed it though. I laughed.
But everybody has a good day. Kevin's a good fisherman. He just didn't. He wasn't on that day, or they weren't biting on his. But let's back up here. Let's talk about, because you had a good point. You could be a little bit intimidated, like going to a tournament. But these people are so nice.
Oh yeah.
If this is your first time, and like I'd question, where did we go weigh in? I mean, there was somebody there to help us.
Yes. Yeah.
And so don't be intimidated, just like, oh, this is a tournament. And it's not. It's a very, maybe I guess boat tournaments are that way. But this kayak tournament was kind of laid back. They were easy going, no?
This was so laid back that no one downed anybody, or you didn't feel pressure like it was like some big competition.
100%.
I used to fish bass fishing tournaments when I was in college, and it was different. Nobody would talk to anybody. It's like going to a bike race. It was about like that. Yeah.
So don't not sign up for this tournament just because I might not catch any. That's okay. That's okay. And then come to the weigh-in.
Yeah, the weigh-in was like a meetup.
Come in and have the food and have a beer and hang around and meet everybody. We talk about our Facebook friends. Meet some of them in person. So, all right, boys.
It looks like
it's time to go fishing. So, y'all got anything else before we close this out of here?
No, sir.
All right.
Nope. Thank y'all.
We're going to go head out and do a little fishing. Maybe give y'all a little fishing report on the Salty Yak Pack. If you don't know what the Salty Yak Pack is, it's our little private Facebook group that you have to answer the 3 questions to get in. If you do not answer the 3 questions, you're automatically declined, okay? If you're not smart enough to figure that out, then I'm sorry, you're not smart enough to be in the Yak Pack. The other thing is, I have got a couple requests from people that do not have social media. And so I am starting a email list, and I'm going to send out the same stuff that I put on the Salty Yak Pack. I would be sending it out on an email list for some of the older people, or the other people that just don't like social media, because obviously I use it to my advantage here to promote us. But if I didn't have to have social media, I don't know that I would be on it at all. I just kind of I can be that way sometimes. I can just unplug. So if you're listening to this and you're not on social media, thesaltyyak@gmail.com. Go over and check out our YouTube. You can see the tournament video should be up in a couple days, and you can see that. And then if you're lucky, we'll have a video of the fishing trip we're doing today.
Or you can watch my gaff top video.
You can watch the gaff top video.
Kevin's Outside.
Go to Kevin's Outside on YouTube. You can see his video yesterday of all the flooded water where he was fishing, and he only caught. You had to have roast beef for dinner.
Yeah.
So because you can
it's a different kind of fish. It's not. Yeah, it's not one more.
I did catch a red yesterday, or day before yesterday though.
Just wasn't a keeper one.
It just wasn't a keeper. So.
One tip on your YouTube video of Kevin catching the gaff top. Or was that, no, it was your video.
It's his video. My video's not out yet.
When you watch it, listen closely for Cary in the background. It's hysterical. Just remember I said that.
Well, in my video, you'll be able to hear mine.
Okay.
He'll be in the background. Going, whoa, it's a big one.
Yeah. The peanut gallery.
All right. Make sure y'all wear y'all's life jackets when y'all go kayak fishing. Y'all go out and catch a couple fish, and we will talk to y'all later. Y'all want to say bye?
Bye.